solving proportions. That's what we're going to look at today. Please get your note packet ready. Open to the page that says solving proportions. If you do not have this note packet, you are doing this in your learning log. Get your title, solving proportions, your learning target. I can define a proportion and solve a proportion. And remember, with this video, you can pause and rewind to watch it at your own pace. What is a proportion? The definition for a proportion is an equation stating that two rates or ratios are equivalent. So think about what our rates and ratios have looked like. They are set up comparing two different units, set up like fractions. So that really means we have two fractions that are equal to each other. And that goes into our next question: how can I write proportions? Two rates or ratios equal to each other. So let me show you two examples of what this would look like. Okay, we can just start with a basic. We have 3/4, and we're going to say that's equal to 6/8. So these are two ratios that are equal to each other. Now, how do we know that they're equal to each other? Well, we're going to use something called cross multiplication to prove that. And if you remember, cross multiplication is numerator times opposite denominator. So 3 times 8, and that's going to be equal to the other numerator times opposite denominator, 6 times 4. All right, so 3 times 8, math fact wizards, hopefully you know that's 24. And then 6 times 4 is also 24. So that's a ratio. That's a proportion. Those ratios are proportions because they are equal to each other. Okay, spit it out, Mrs. Benoit. We got it there. Let me show you another example. So would be considered more like a level 2, because now what you're going to see is I'm going to have two ratios. But within one of those ratios is a variable. Okay, that's totally valid because we can prove that this is true by solving for that variable. Again, just using the idea of cross multiplication, numerator times opposite denominator, 5 times x, and we're going to set that equal to the other numerator times opposite denominator, 20 times 6. So notice I'm not doing my multiplication till I've written out both sides of the cross multiplication, and I'm keeping that equal sign in there. Okay, 5 times x. Now I'm going to do that right below it and say it's 5x. Remember, we work vertically. And 20 times 6. 6 times 2 is 12. Slap the 0 on, that's 120. Now, hopefully this rings a bell. This is a one-step equation. We're going to solve that by dividing by the coefficient of x on both sides. So then we get 1x equals, how many 5s go into 120? If you said 24, you are correct. So to make the proportion without the variable in it, then we would write this as 5/6 equals 20 over 24. So we would rewrite that proportion with our answer in place of the variable. Okay? All right, let's do some more practice. How can I solve proportions? Well, I've just kind of showed you two examples, so let's keep that momentum going. I've got the steps written out here. If you have the note packet, you have them. If you don't, this would be a good time to pause and write those steps down. These are level 1 problems, so our proportions are already set up for us. So we're at the cross multiplication step. So remember, that's numerator times opposite denominator. So 6 times x, and I'm not doing that multiplication yet. Okay, I'm not telling the product of that. I'm going to the other numerator times opposite denominator and setting that up on the other side of my equal sign. The next step is where you do that multiplication, okay? So we're going to do 6 times x is 6x. And then we have to do, oh my goodness, 48 times 7. That is not a fact that I know. So I'm going to do my side math here. Let's see if you can do your side math faster than me without a calculator. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 4 is 28 plus 5. 28 plus 5. 28 plus 5. 33. So I got 336. Did you get 336? Good. Now we have a one-step equation. So we're going to divide by that coefficient of 6 and get 1x is equal to, I don't know that either, so I'm going to do more side math. 336 divided by 6. 6 goes in the 33 5 times. Bring down the 6. 6 goes in the 36 6 times. Excellent. Good multiplication and long division practice in this problem. 1x is 56. So my proportion would then be 6 over 7 equals 48 over 56. Remember to go back to that original proportion and substitute in for your variable. Let's look at another one. X over 5 equals 10 over 25. Numerator times opposite denominator. 25 times x equals, and then you write the other numerator times opposite denominator, 10 times 5. I have not done any multiplication yet. We're not working horizontally. We're working vertically. So the multiplication gets written on the next line underneath. 25 times x is 25x. 10 times 5, powers of 10, gotta love them, 50. 1 times 5 is 5, slap that 0 on. Divide by your coefficient, and you get 1x equals, how many 25s go into 50? That would be 2 quarters. 2 quarters make 50 cents, right? Okay, and then take that 2, and you're going to put it where x was in the original proportion. So you have 2 over 5 equals 10 over 25. Let's try a level 2 example here, or some may consider this a level 3 example. We've got a real world situation. Logan bought 6 gallons of ice cream for $12.99. Logan likes his ice cream. How much would 2 gallons cost? All right, now you're going to notice my steps for this are a little bit different. When you set up the proportions, you have to do it by matching the units. So when we're talking about gallons of ice cream and money, we're looking at the units of cost per gallon. So the first thing you need to determine is how you're going to set that up, right? Cost per gallon. Okay, so I know he spent $12.99 on 6 gallons. That's my first rate. Now on the second side, cost will go in the numerator and gallons will go in the denominator. Units have to match. I don't know how much it cost, but I know I'm asking about 2 gallons. So 2 goes in the denominator. What I don't know is the cost. Okay, so the key is your units have to be in the same place on each side of the proportion. Now we're ready just to do the math as we have been. Cross multiply. Numerator times opposite denominator. So we're doing $12.99 times 2 and numerator times opposite denominator, 6 times x. Notice the words don't come into this part, just the numbers, so we can do the math. For this one, you can grab your calculator. I'm going to look at my little cheat sheet here. $12.99 times 2 is $25.98. Remember, we're talking about money, so why don't you say it as money? And 6 times x is 6x. Our variables on the right, fine, leave it there. Don't turn it around. Our coefficients on the right, so we're dividing both sides by 6, not by $25.98. And then use your calculator to do $25.98 divided by 6. And you will get $4.33 for 1x or 1 gallon. We know what we're talking about. We're talking about gallons. Okay, so go back to your original proportion here. Logan spent $12.99 on 6 gallons. He spent $4.33 on 2 gallons. Put that back in your original proportion. All right. Keep these notes, get them ready. We're going to do some practice.